Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program tonight. I am your guest host, Derick Glenn, in for my good buddy Jim Quinn, who is been under the weather. I want to say hi to Jim. Jim, wishing you well and asking everyone to send some prayers to you so you can get well soon and get back in this seat. I want to welcome my guest for tonight, Dr. Brian Kutner, longtime business owner in Millville. And Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Derick.
Yeah.
I was very honored to be called onto the show.
Good. I'm so glad you're here.
I did this with, let me move my water bottle out of here. I did this a similar show with Jim about 8 to 10 years ago, and I loved it.
Wow, good.
Then I wore a suit. Good. Tonight I said I'm not wearing a suit.
You don't have to have a suit.
I'm too casual for that.
No. So we've got a lot to cover tonight, a lot of ground to cover tonight. Dr. Kutner, we call him Brian, is involved in many different things. He's very involved heavily involved in the community, and we're not going to talk a lot about his prior career. He was my dentist for many years right here in Millville. You may have been one of his patients, or you may.
And he was well behaved.
I tried.
As a patient.
But we want to talk about some of the stuff that you're currently active in, Brian. Some of the stuff it's very intriguing to see, to follow you on social media, and to see some of your photography, your I call it artwork because it really does look like artwork. But want to have you talk to our audience here and kind of start talking a little bit about what you do currently and how they can see some of your work as well. Okay.
Well, we're going to go back to 1980. I graduated high school in 72, college 76, and I went to dental school at University of Pennsylvania and graduated in 80. I did a dental residency up in North Jersey in Denville at St. Clair's Hospital. If you remember, a few years after I was there was the Catherine Ann Quinlan right-to-die case that was tried before the Supreme Court. Well, she was there a couple years after I was there. So that hospital's famous for that. Wow. But it had a small dental residency program. I had a lot of free time, especially after work and after on weekends. And I used to drive by a sign that said the Morris Canal, Morris, Morris Canal, 1829 to 1924. Well, I didn't know what the Morris Canal was because they don't teach you much about that stuff in school. Yeah. I'd heard of the Erie, the Panama, the Suez. That was it. Well, one day I got out of my car and I said, let me try to find this. Well, it's been abandoned for, this was 1924 to 1980, so that's 56 years. It was abandoned. So it's dried up, overgrown, hardly any water anywhere. So I found a little bit, started tracing it. Well, eventually I walked 3/4 of the way across the state. I did 5 or 10 miles a day and then hitchhiked back because back then you could hitchhike, especially as a guy. Yeah. And I got involved with canals and I got kind of obsessed with them. And I had a license plate that said canals, and being I was a dentist, everybody assumed it meant root canals, but it meant water canals.
Oh my goodness.
And I got really absurdly obsessed with them because it was something that built America and nobody knows about it today. Yeah. They had something back then, it was called canal fever, which was two things. It was malaria you got from in the swamps from digging the canals, but it was also the fever that went around emotionally with people who wanted a canal to go through their town so their town could be built and be successful and be commercially viable. Wow. So everybody had canal fever, and that's all anybody talked about. And today nobody knows anything about it. So that drew me to canals. And from the 80s, then the mid-80s, I started photography because I used to go to lectures at the Canal Museum in Easton, Pennsylvania, and we had these brilliant historians, but none of them knew how to photograph. And old, abandoned, dried-up ditches are not a suitable photo subject. Yeah. It's not like a beautiful model, a doggy, a baby, a sunset, whatever. Right. A dried-up ditch filled with trash is not a subject. No. So I started getting Kodak books on how to compose pictures. Bought some equipment. Of course, back then it wasn't digital. It was film. And I started shooting, and then I started going to England, and I spent a month in England. I shot 16 days each time on 2 canals in England. The Leeds and Liverpool, which amazingly enough goes between Leeds and Liverpool.
Wow.
And then the Grand Canyon, I'm blanking out, the Grand Junction, the Grand something canal that goes out of London to Birmingham and Manchester area up north. And then I got involved with aqueducts, water supply aqueducts that the Romans built. So I spent 6 weeks in Europe doing them. I did 2 in Italy, 2 in France, 2 in Spain. And in 1991, I called it quits because I was in the wrong country to be studying canals. England was. We used to have 5,000 miles of navigable canals, and today we have 0.
Wow. In the United States?
Of navigable. Now, we have rivers that are, quote, canalized, which means they build a lock and a dam in the river, like the Mississippi River, Ohio River, etc. Yeah. But actual canals that are separate from a river, we have 0 miles today, but we once had 5,000, of which Pennsylvania had 1,200, New York 800, Ohio 600, New Jersey 200.
That's fascinating.
England, though, still has 2,000 miles that are navigable.
Wow.
So they have restoration parties on weekends. They have what they're called navies, Navvies. And the navies form cleanup restoration parties. Somebody brings in a crane, somebody brings in a bulldozer, 1,000,000 shovels, and they restored hundreds and hundreds of miles. So there's 2,000 miles there that are currently navigable. And people go on holiday. They don't say vacation, they say on holiday. So they go on holiday on them. They have 3 full-color magazines, 150 pages long a month. We had a 12-page black and white journal every 3 months.
Wow.
So, it was the wrong country, so I called it quits. 91. 2010, my wife Dawn wants to go to Italy. I said, okay. And my right-hand person, Trina, at work says, oh, you're going to start photographing again because it's been 20 years. And I said, nah. So I went, and then I said, maybe I will. So the next year I started buying digital cameras. And starting 2011, I went crazy. And I started shooting all kinds of things. And canals became somewhat secondary. I did churches and cemeteries and cathedrals and capitol buildings. I've done the interiors of 375 churches, roughly.
Wow.
50 in Italy, but 325 in America. 15 capitol buildings, including the U.S. and Washington. That's the interiors. But all sorts of things. Coal mines, steel mills, all sorts of things. Universities, libraries. I've done Yale, Harvard. And it's been fun. And I say this like I'm bragging. I don't want to be bragging because that's not my point. It's just I've gotten really involved with it because I'm retired and I got the time. And I write letters and I ask for permission to come in because I do everything on a tripod. So I want to get special tripod permission ahead of time, which is literally like pulling teeth to get tripod permission. So I get into like 98, 99% of what I try to. On occasion, it takes 6 months. But I get in.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing how passionate you are. And I can just listening to you and hearing you tell the story, I can just, like I said, just hear how passionate you are about that. I know you brought some footage of some of the photos that you've taken, some of the images that you have. I know we're going to look at some of that stuff tonight. I'm excited to see it, folks. If you're on social media, if you're on Facebook, you can actually go to Brian's Facebook page. You can see a lot of his work. He does put a lot of the photos, a lot of things that you don't get to see a lot. Not everything, I think, but you do get to see some of the stuff, and it's very admirable, Brian, some of the stuff that you take, especially when you look at the detail in your photo work with the cathedrals, like you just mentioned. Some of the work is just amazing. The way you capture some of these images. It's not just like me going in and taking a picture of something.
No, you can't with a cell phone.
So
I use top-end Nikon equipment. I buy it used on eBay. It lasts forever, so even used It's a quarter of the price, but it still lasts forever and a day.
Yeah.
So I use top shelf equipment. I shoot on a tripod, and I edit very carefully with good software. When I first started, I didn't, because I didn't know any better. But since 2019, I've been doing what I currently do with the same equipment, same software. But before then, I had a whole bunch of changes as I upgraded things.
Yeah.
So in 15 years, I've done 145,000 photos.
Wow.
Yeah, I count. I keep count. It's one of those fun things to do. I keep count on a Word document.
Yeah.
And nothing's redundant. I only post what I shoot, and I only shoot what I post. And I don't keep doubles and duplicates. If it doesn't make the cut, I just don't put it on Facebook, nor do I keep it in my records.
Yeah.
And when you shoot on a tripod, you don't mess up.
Okay.
Because you've got it right there, and you can go very slowly.
Yeah.
And you can look at the shot and say, did that work or doesn't it work?
Right.
So
let me ask you a question. So anybody out there that does photography as a I don't want to say maybe as a hobby, there's obviously a lot of professional photographers, but people that do it as a hobby, or myself, Brian, I was on my phone and taking pictures of me and stuff. How do you know you have the shot? How do you know you're not just I'm just taking a picture? How do you know, or this is the shot for me, this is the angle, this is the image, this is what I want? How do you know without just snapping pictures?
Well, because I go to a place for a full day. I usually arrive an hour before sunrise so I can kind of scope the scene.
Wow.
And do early morning shots if that's going to be the case, if it's outside.
Yeah.
And then when I'm inside a building, I, have a certain format that I follow in my mind, and I, look what's there, and I say, I'm going to do this that way, and I'm going to do that way, and then I modify it sometimes as I go along. And sometimes a few years later, I come back and redo it totally. I did St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan 12, 14 years ago. Well, I redid it 6-7 years ago. And it took me 3 12-hour days, 36 hours.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
Holy cow.
They don't open until 6:45
what
for
in
mass.
The world?
And they let me in. Well, you know what it is? You got to get the right person.
Yeah.
There's no correlation between the size of the place and the importance of the place and how they treat you. So the biggest can treat you great, and the smallest can ignore you.
Yeah.
So this guy's name was Luau. That's a guy. Luau Pugliafito. Luau must have known a lot about marketing. I forget his exact job title.
Yeah.
And I told him I wanted to be on the floor of the cathedral with no people. So he let me in 3 days at 5:15, an hour and a half before they even opened for mass, and it was just me and the janitor.
Wow.
Of course, I didn't consider that it was winter and the windows were black because the sun wasn't up, so I had to redo some of the shots.
Oh, no.
But still, that shoot took me 36 hours, and I did like 660 photos.
Wow.
But an amazing building.
Holy cow.
And the Washington National Cathedral in Washington, that took 4.5 days.
What?
Yeah, these are my biggest.
Yeah. So see, in my mind, I go on vacation with the family and the
yeah,
kids.
but that's a normal thing, a vacation.
Yes, and I'm just like, oh, there's a river. Let's take a picture of the river. I can't imagine the attention to detail that you must have going into one of these, shoots and to be able to, like you just said, you spent 3 days. I mean, that's intense.
Well, don't forget when I go on vacation, I don't photograph.
Okay.
I might bring a camera and take a shot or two by hand without a tripod. But I'm an all or nothing, so I either do it right or I don't do it at all.
Man.
So vacation, I treat my wife and daughter properly and pay attention to them. But when I'm not on vacation and I photograph, it's just that.
That's amazing.
So I focus the whole day. Like tomorrow, I'm doing a church in Philadelphia. No, I'm sorry, a church in Newark, New Jersey.
Wow.
Called Petty Memorial Baptist Church.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the Petty School in Lawrenceville? It's very famous. Mr. Petty, Peddie, was a big benefactor.
Wow.
Well, I did that one maybe 14 years ago, but I'm redoing it.
Okay.
Because I have better equipment, better software, more experience, etc. And then Thursday, I'm doing one in Philadelphia, which is formerly First Baptist Church. And that I've never done. I did the outside last week. I'm doing the inside Thursday.
Yeah.
Now it's called Resurrection Church. But interestingly enough, it's in the style of this photo that's in the background.
That's in the background of the shot.
That's called Richardson Romanesque.
Okay.
And that's Henry, I think Hulbert was the middle name, H. Richardson, who lived from maybe 1860 to 1910 or so. He died very young. But he created that style. It's called Richardson Romanesque. And a lot of guys followed it after him. Like, this isn't by Richardson, but it's in Richardson Romanesque style.
Okay.
And the one in Philly is somewhat in that style, too.
Wow.
This is actually the water station in Boston along their aqueduct system. They have two aqueducts, 1848 called the Cochituate and 1873 called the Sudbury, and that feeds water into the city. And this was one of the pumping stations. There was two next door to each other. One's called the high pressure, one's called the low pressure. I forget which this one is, but it's a masterpiece.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's 3 giant steam engines in there that aren't used anymore, and it's now used like for a wedding venue.
Wow.
Which is amazing, because who has weddings next to a giant steam
That's
engine?
so cool.
And I'm talking about 40 feet high by 80 feet long, giant steam engines.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. People are, back in the day, I used to be in the wedding business. I used to entertain and at weddings and DJ and sing and anything you can imagine. And I'll tell you, things have changed. So many people are going to like the barn venues. Have you ever seen that? Have you seen them? Like the barn venues, the barns are all decked out.
Anything goes nowadays.
Yeah, man.
And it's good because conventional venues are kind of boring.
They are.
It's almost nice to have something different.
Because back in the day, it was the Elks Lodge or the American Legion, or it was a hall. It was a hall.
I saw an interesting one. It's in New York, along the path of the Delaware-Hudson Canal, which went from the coal fields of Scranton, PA, to Kingston, New York, 108 miles. And there's a mine along there that mined Portland cement, which is what they use for bridges and things. Yeah. And that abandoned mine is used as a venue nowadays.
Wow.
And I was in it, and I was alone because it wasn't open as a venue at that time.
Yeah.
And it was like a beach descending into the flooded water of the mine.
Wow.
And all the pillars that held the mine up. And they use that as a venue. And for rock concerts and for poetry readings. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was wild. They use everything.
Pretty cool. Hey, I want to tell you guys right now, I know some of you are watching us on Comcast Channel 22. Some are watching on Facebook Live and also on YouTube Live. But I just want to say right now, Lisa says hi. Brian.
Hey, Lisa
says hi. Also, Carol Johnston Olive says,
hi, Carol. I know
you're
Carol.
An excellent photographer.
Thank you, Carol. I know Carol. She's a nice woman.
Compliment. She's a very nice woman. Folks, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we are going to look at some of the photos from Brian from throughout the years. I think, right? You brought with you some photos from over the years. We're going to look at some of that stuff and a lot more. If you have questions for Brian, shoot us a message on Facebook. We're following it along right now on Facebook Live, so you can shoot us a message if you have something that you'd like to ask him, or even if you want to say something about his work. Please do so. But don't go anywhere. We will be back in just a moment right here on Around South Jersey with Jim Quinn.
For over 90 years, Mintz Insurance has protected what matters most: families, businesses, and futures. Born in South Jersey, we've weathered storms, celebrated milestones, and stood strong with our community every single step of the way. Rooted in tradition, but always moving forward, we invest in the latest technology to deliver faster, smarter coverage solutions without losing that personal touch. Because trust isn't built overnight, it is earned. One policy, one promise, one person at a time.
The most important decisions a family can make are usually made around the kitchen table. At DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, we believe pre-planning and the difficult decisions you face with the loss of a loved one should also be made around the comfort of a table, like a family. Our friendly, kind, and compassionate staff is committed to helping you get through this most difficult time. In your time of need, trust DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, Vineland.
We're all looking for God. All the signs point to, there is really a God. We try to find him in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of places, and through all kinds of things. But there's only one way to find him. That's by personal experience with him. Come visit us this Sunday. We can introduce you to him. New Life Church, Millville, New Jersey.
For decades, our dad has been a steady, trusted voice here at Mintz Insurance, helping neighbors, not just clients, protect what matters most.
As Dad steps into retirement, one thing stays the same: our commitment to this community.
We're proud to be independent, rooted right here in Millville. No call centers, no runaround, just real people ready to help, just like Dad always did.
Mintz Insurance, built on trust, proud of our past, and ready for what's next.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Hey, welcome back to Around South Jersey with Jim Quinn. I'm your guest host, Derick Glenn. I want to just going to bring a slide up here, and I just want to mention this is my son's company, DuraShield LLC, where durability meets design. They do residential, commercial flooring, epoxy, polyaspartic, polished concrete. You can reach them at durashield.com. DuraShieldCoatings.com, 609-666-9198. Alex Glenn, the proprietor, and it's my son. They do some awesome work. So check it out if you're looking. If you need your garage done, if you need commercial work done, reach out to them. Give them a holler. Back in the studio with Dr. Brian Kutner. And Brian, thanks again for being here today.
My pleasure.
I'm having a great time here, folks, filling in for Jim Quinn again. If you have an opportunity, if you have his contact information, reach out to him, give him some well wishes. I know he's probably watching right now. And Jim, we wish you the best, and I want you to get back in the hot seat. So Brian, before we went on break, we were talking about coming back, and we want to look at some of the images of some of your artwork, some of the stuff that you've been doing.
We'll just tell Ryan to start at the beginning.
All right. So, Ryan, we're going to start at the beginning. And, Brian, if you could talk to us a little bit and tell us what we're looking at.
Now,
here.
this is some of my real old photography, so my editing style wasn't as good because of the software and my lack of experience. But anyway, imagine yourself coming to America in 1750 or something and going up the Potomac River and reaching this. This is Great Falls, 76 feet high. How do you get your boat around it? Well, you don't. So they had to build canals. The first canal in America, which is right here, was built by old GW himself, George Washington. And this goes back to like 1791 or so. And they built a 2-mile canal to bypass this 76-foot waterfall. And this is a canal lock. A lock is a chamber. Think of it like a bathtub with gates at each end. The water lowers or raises to raise or lower your boat. And this was 2 locks back to back. And in there was a giant rock cut. So the first picture looked one way. This is looking the other way. This was blasted out with primitive dynamite. And unfortunately, a lot of people died. And they were always advertising for blasters in those days. Because, everything was very primitive. And life was not so good, let's say. Yeah. But after George Washington built this, they expanded canals to don't go forward in the pictures yet, Ryan. Canals then were just little ones to bypass waterfalls. So that one on the Potomac River was like 5 little canals: Great Falls, Little Falls, Seneca Falls, House Falls, Balcony Falls. And each time you were in the river after you were in the little canal. Wow. Well, that's not dependable because rivers are low in the summer. Flood stage, you can't go in there. When they're frozen, you can't go in there. There's rocks, there's roots, there's boulders. So they built canals, and they called them continuous canals. So the canal was on the riverbank, and the river was 25, 50, 100 feet away.
Yeah.
So this is a picture of the Erie Canal, which also had at one time 4 different eras, starting with very primitive to in the 1790s to the 1825 Erie Canal that we all heard about with the old famous song 15 Miles on the Erie Canal, which we should have Derick sing. And this was, I think, the later next version, the enlarged Erie Canal, which was 1840 to 1860. And then this is after it was abandoned, they built the trolley tracks on top of the aqueduct bridge. Wow. So this was a bridge to cross I think that's the Genesee River, and boats were in there. The structure on top wasn't there. Yeah. Boats were on the bridge crossing the river from one side of the canal to the other side of the canal. And later on it became trolley tracks or subway tracks, and now it's, I think, even abandoned for that. So you can continue now.
It's amazing.
This is what was once considered a wonder of the world. It's the Lockport 5. Lockport was the Niagara Escarpment, which is the big hill that Niagara falls down, basically. And this is part of that. So they built 5 canal locks. You can see 3 of them on your left. That's the old Erie of 1825, or maybe the enlarged Erie of 1840 to 1860. And on the right is the modern barge canal, which is 1915 or 17.
Wow.
So the Erie had 4 eras, and very few canals had 4 eras. Just the Erie did and the Welland did, which is what bypasses Niagara Falls in Canada. Okay, you can continue. This is where I got my start. This is the Morris Canal in North Jersey. This is Phillipsburg, which is across from Easton, PA. The Delaware River's on your right. That's a big railroad bridge going across. The former canal went up that little hillside. It was called an inclined plane, which we'll see in a few minutes, another inclined plane. This was a guillotine gate. If you look under the red brick arch, you can see a little bit of wood on the right. That's the remnant. They dropped wood like a guillotine, and that kept flood water out of the canal. So the Morris is where I got my start in 1980.
Wow.
That's looking out the arch at the another railroad bridge in Easton. Continue. This is an inclined plane. This is about 5 miles away. A man named Jim Quinn wrote books on the Morris Canal, and I became friends with him. And he actually came down in 1982 when I opened my office, and I said, "Holy gosh, Jim Lee is here."
So what
Jim
is that?
Lee is like the god of Morris Canal.
So what was there water?
Yeah. This is I'll have to explain.
Okay.
Canal locks in the old days can only get you up 6, 8, 10, 12 feet. Few exceptions that could lift you 30 or 40 on the Lehigh Canal in Pennsylvania, but basically 6 to 12 feet. Well, this is North Jersey. This is a 100-foot hill.
Wow.
And if you have 10 locks of 10 foot each to get up there, it takes forever and a day, and you use up a lot of water, and that didn't work. So they built these things called inclined planes, which are hillsides. So in the grass area were railroad tracks mounted on wood ties, mounted on sleeper stones, which were big rocks, big cut rocks to hold the railroad tracks. The water from the upper end, I guess you can see my hand on camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can see my hand. Okay, so the water on the upper end, as the hill started descending on the upper end, the water stayed level in a flume, a wooden, maybe 4x4 chamber.
Okay.
Flowed across, hit a 65-foot high, 5-foot diameter iron penstock pipe shaped like a letter J. Fell down to 65 feet. When it came up the bottom of the J, it lifted up a turbine like your sprinklers on your lawn. And that turbine turned rapidly, turned cables that were on a drum, which pulled the boat up and down the hill.
Get out of here.
So the railroad tracks went into the water on the top of the hill, went into the railroad tracks on the bottom of the hill.
No way.
And the boat went into a carriage or a cradle. So the boat was towed up this. And the inclined plane saved a lot of time. So the Morris Canal had, I think, 22 locks and 22 planes. in its 107-mile journey across the state. And no other canals used inclined planes. There was one rudimentary one in Massachusetts, I think Hadley used a little one, which didn't succeed at all. And that was it in America. But interestingly enough, in Japan, the Lake Biwako Canal, also called Lake Biwa, borrowed the Mars Canal's engineering plans in 1870, 1880, and they built their canal using our plans.
Are you serious?
Which is pretty cool. And
Wow.
theirs was for transportation and for irrigation and for hydroelectric power.
Wow.
And theirs still exist
No way.
using Mars Canal plans.
Brian, I wanted to tell you, Mary Linda Dehane
Dana, I know Mary Linda.
said, awesome pictures. Eric Waldron Plennis said, hello, everyone. God bless. So
Thank
thank
you.
you guys for
Thank
checking
you.
in with us.
Mary Linda's a wonderful dental hygienist.
I love it. We've got some more pictures to show.
Sure.
All right.
This is what that same inclined plane looked like in 1915 or so.
Wow. What a difference.
So there's the carriage that the boat would go into. The top is the powerhouse on the left, or I guess left of center.
Yeah.
And the water would be flowing into that and then down below. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue. This is looking down the 5-foot diameter, 65-foot tall penstock pipe. So water would be falling down there and then coming up on the other end. Continue.
Holy cow.
To lift. Oh, that's looking down at the turbine from the top. Go ahead. That's a turbine. And there's very few turbines left. Number one, this isn't a locked. You can't even get in there under normal circumstances. You have to have a special tour with Jim Lee's grandson, he's Jim Lee the third.
Okay.
And because he lives in the plane tender's house, which we'll see in a minute. Because there were lock keepers' houses, there were plane tenders' houses, and they maintained that's the plane tender's house, which Jim Lee Jr. lives in now, and also is a museum. It's called the Jim and Mary Lee Museum. I slept in that one night.
Wow.
And this is the Morris Canal in a kind of a ghost town in Waterloo, New Jersey. So Waterloo Village is a very famous little village. They used to have all sorts of gigs and concerts there.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
But Waterloo Village is one of 3 canal villages. There's 2 in Ohio and 1 in New Jersey. And it's got about a mile or 2 still having water in it. And I used to eat or drink hot apple cider in this place back in 1980 with my then girlfriend, who sadly has been dead for 22 years. Jeez. But she and I used to drink hot apple cider there.
Wow.
That's the general store. Continue. This is a canal tunnel, just like we go through tunnels in cars. Well, canals went through tunnels. We only had 5 in America. England, I think, had 80.
Wow.
And our longest one was 3,118 feet down in on the Potomac River. This one's 729 feet. This is the Union Canal, which went from the Susquehanna River to the, I'm blanking out on the other river. But this was along the Union Canal. This is one of the earliest canals. And this 730-foot tunnel still has water in it. This is the longest one in America. This is Washington, above Washington, about 120 miles maybe. The Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, which was the later grandson of the one that George Washington built that we showed you in the first pictures.
That's amazing. So they bored that out back then.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
This bypass, this is called Paw, like what my grandson calls me,
Yeah.
Paw. Paw bends. There were 6 or 8 loops in the Potomac River, and that was 6 miles long. So this bypassed the Paw bends with a 3,118-foot tunnel, which I walked through, and I even wrote a ghost story about it, but that's besides the point. It's kind of spooky in there, but you can walk through it.
Yeah.
That's looking out at.
Wow.
Obviously, it hasn't been used for boats in ages.
It's gorgeous, though. I mean, look at the waterfall.
Yeah.
coming
Well,
down
it's
the
frozen.
side of it.
It's
Yeah.
frozen, so it's melting. This canal is only preserved because Supreme Court Justice William Douglas hiked it in 1955 when they wanted to turn it into a parkway, a road parkway.
Yeah.
And he hiked it, and that got it turned into a national park. So it's totally preserved. It's 184.5 miles from Washington, D.C., right next to the Watergate building. And I believe the Watergate is named after a gate that was on that canal.
Okay.
And it goes all the way up to Cumberland, Maryland.
Wow.
You can continue. This is on the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, which went between Delaware City and Chesapeake City. And that was one of the first canals proposed in America, as was the Cape Cod Canal. But the Cape Cod one wasn't built to maybe 1915. This one was built in maybe 1830. But this is a stone tablet, which is giant. It's like 10 feet wide by 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it's on the outside of the pump house
Yeah.
that pumped water from a creek at the high part of the canal, which is called the summit. The higher you go up, the less water there is. So you have to sometimes get extra water. So this had steam engine pumps. Okay, continue, which there's one of them. So they're like 1830s or 40s steam engines that pumped water. Continue, and continue. And this is the water wheel that turned the water. This thing's, I think, 38 feet diameter.
Wow.
It's behind an iron screen, and I had to get special permission for them to remove it for me like a week later, and I came back for it because that grill is not open because people would fall in there and die. And you can't get a good view of it because it's so huge. It's 38 feet, and I'm right on top of it. So even with a wide-angle lens, I can only see a little bit of it. But that's perfectly preserved.
That's amazing.
This is where our Industrial Revolution started. You might have heard last week or 2 weeks ago there was a murder in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, where a fellow, I think at a hockey game, shot his wife and kid.
Yeah.
This is where it was.
Wow.
This is where our Industrial Revolution started. England was ahead of us by 50 or 75 years with their Industrial Revolution. We were a little behind because, of course, we're a newer country. But this is Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and there were two mills here called Slater and Wilkinson. And they started the textile mill revolution, which eventually continue. And there's some of the mills. And keep on going. I mean, they're beautiful. I've been meaning to go back and re-photograph it. That's from 10 years ago. Continue. That's their little water wheel. Okay, go ahead. That's some bobbins with fabric on there. But milling originally was just started by farm girls on their farms. And then these two mills, Slater and Wilkinson, started the nascent Industrial Revolution. And then it spread to Lowell, Lowell, Lawrence, Massachusetts, both of them, and Manchester, New Hampshire, named after Manchester, England, which is where the Industrial Revolution started there. And this is Lowell, Massachusetts, so that's called the Pawtucket Falls. Same name as the other city, Pawtucket, but it's not the same place. It's maybe 30, 50 miles away. Go ahead. This is another one of those guillotine gates that we talked about earlier for water protection. This one on the right in the reflection, that's called that was Francis's Folly. The engineer was Mr. Francis, I forget his first name, and he built that to protect from floodwater because Lowell was originally a transportation canal called the Pawtucket Canal, and then they expanded it to have milling, and they started building textile mills all over the city. So now this entire city is a national park. It's the only city in America, I believe, that's a national park.
Wow.
And it became the biggest textile milling center of America. And there's about 5 miles of canals. There's about 12 different industrial complexes. Each one has 3 or 6 or 8 buildings. Each building's 4 or 5 stories high, 300 feet long, filled with thousands of textile machines.
Wow.
And all by water power. So continue. So that's that gate, and that did protect the city during a flood. They called it the Francis Folly, and then it protected the city once. So he became a saint. Continue. That's one of the mills called, I think that's the Boot Mills, Boott.
And so basically what you're saying is all of the power, all of the machine operation was generated through water. Wow.
Water dropping. It's called the head.
Okay.
Like our dam here on the Morris River.
Yeah.
It's got a head of maybe 15 or 20 feet.
Uh-huh.
Well, when it drops 20 feet, it generates power because it's heavy.
Wow.
Water weighs 8.25 pounds per gallon. You know, when you lift up your milk containers, they probably weigh a little heavier because milk's denser than water.
That's fascinating.
But water's very heavy.
Fascinating.
So, everything was water-powered back then.
Bob Morgan.
Bob Morgan.
So Brian's the world's expert. Very interesting. Erica Waldron Plennis said the pics are beautiful. Patty Smith Gilmore, great history for all of us tonight.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad nobody said he's a hack.
No, I don't think anybody would say that.
You never know.
This is real life, and you know what? With AI, I think this is so fascinating, folks. With AI coming up and all this stuff, this is real. This is real life. I love this.
Well, this is what built your country.
Absolutely.
And this is what built your city.
Yeah.
Because Mr. R.D. Wood, Richard D. Wood, whose descendants own Wawa today, he started a complex across from my old office. And there was an iron foundry there in 1815, which is now a little computer repair building. And then in 1854, he built a textile mill, which is directly across from my office. And then he became quite a big industrialist. I've got pictures later on, which we probably won't get to, but he built in Cincinnati, Ohio, the largest steam engines in America.
Wow.
There are 4 of them, one in each corner of a round building, 104 feet tall. And that pumped water for the city of Cincinnati. And that building is still there, still has the original engines, but there's a more modern one in the center now that does the pumping. Wow. But it says right on there, R.D. Wood and Company.
That's amazing. Let's, Brian, before we take a break, let's get back into some more photos of some of your stuff here.
Sure. This is still Lowell, Massachusetts. So this was like a Venice, Italy with canals. This was your Venice. Yeah. But these were all textile mills. A lot of them have been repurposed over the years into other functions since these are canal locks because, as I said, there was a transportation canal there. So these are I think these might be called the swamp locks. Okay. And you can actually take a ride on there in the summer.
Look at that.
Yeah. And continue. And it's looking between 2 of the mills. I don't remember the name of each mill.
So I'm going to ask a stupid question, but is that a beam going across the canal?
But did it hold a little bridge? I don't remember.
Okay.
Because, these things get changed so much over the years.
Yeah.
They get changed, they get modified, they get repaired, they get added on, deleted. So you don't know what's what.
Yeah, what
unless you do a complete. This was a little exaggerated. This was my old exaggerated editing mode called grunge. And I don't use grunge anymore. Yeah. It gets a little cliche-ish. This is looking inside the boot mill, named after Kirk Boot. And this is all textile machines down there.
Look at that.
And it still works as display, not as making fabric.
Yeah.
But you can tour it on display. This is our Great Falls. A lot of Great Falls. There was Great Falls on the Potomac. Mm-hmm. This is Great Falls on the Passaic River in Paterson, New Jersey. There's Great Falls on the Mohawk River and on the Erie Canal, New York. A lot of Great Falls. So this is 76 foot also. Great Falls. Our friend Alexander Hamilton in 1791 or so decided he could build a complex here. It was the first industrial city in America. And continue. He exploited the power of the 76-foot waterfall and built a 3-tiered level of canals. So upper, middle, and a lower with mills on each tier. So the upper level would use the water. It would spit it out into the middle level, which mills would use it there, and then to the lower. And there's one of the canals. They're supposed to restore them and get water back in them. Right now, they don't have much water. And this was about 8 years ago, so I'm not sure what the status is now. But anyway, they built they made Colt revolvers here. It was the silk capital of the world. Silk as in the fabric, silk.
Yeah.
The Holland submarines were first built here.
Wow.
Rogers locomotives. I was going to say Baldwin, but Baldwin's Philadelphia. This is one of my favorite angles. I've done the same shot like 4 times over the years. I just love the angle of those mill buildings. They have so much.
That's amazing.
What's the word? Panache. This was a later company that fixed silk machinery, and originally I think was part of the railroad Rogers Museum across the street. Yeah. The museum that's there now, the Rogers Locomotive Manufacturing, I think it was part of their complex, but then it built, then it repaired machines. And this is the museum now, which is where they made railroad trains, locomotives. And there's one of them sitting there. Wow, it's a fascinating city, and it's only 2.5 hours from where we live. It's worth visiting. Of course, I say everything's worth visiting. Yeah. This is the City Hall of Patterson. Continue. And that's the old courthouse, I think, which became the post office.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. Look at the architecture. Where do you see that?
Nowhere.
Continue. This is the mill I told you that R.D. Wood of Millville built in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. This is his 104-foot steam engines. You can only see sections of it because it's encased within a building and you have to go down floor after floor after floor. So you can only see 10, 20, 30 feet at a time. But this is part of Mr. Wood's project. It was his biggest project that he ever built. And continue, and look what it says, R.D. Wood and Company, Camden Iron Works. He started in Millville, expanded to Camden, and took over the existing Camden Iron Works in the 1870s or 80s. That currently is the site of Campbell Soup.
Wow.
So it's a small world. Everything's linked together.
Oh, my goodness.
This is an aqueduct for water supply, but not in America. Can you guess where this is?
No.
That's Italy.
Okay.
This is where it all started. The Romans built aqueducts between 313 BC to maybe 276 AD, something like that. Rome had 12 different aqueducts built over the years, a couple from the north, 4 from the east, 4 from the south. But they were ingenious because they piggybacked them on top of each other in some places. So this is an area that's coming south of Rome, and there's a volcanic tongue, meaning where the lava flowed years earlier. Yeah. It's called a tongue. And it made the land there about 20 feet higher. So as the ground starts falling off towards the sea, just like I told you about the inclined plane, they wanted to keep the water up high, so they had to build bridges.
Wow.
So when the water first comes out, the bridge is 3 feet high, and then it's 6, and then eventually it's 60 feet high. Jeez. So what they did is they built on top of these volcanic tongues, and then when they built, and that saved them a 20-foot height of the bridge.
Yeah.
And then when they added later aqueducts, 50 or 200 years later, they built them on top of the existing ones. So there's 2 colonnades or series of arches, and each of these arches is 5 aqueducts. One's a 3 and one's a 2.
Wow.
Because they're piggybacked on each other. They're very clever. Not used for water anymore. This is the Pont du Gard, which is in the Nîmes, France, Nimes. Goes from Nîmes, or goes from U-Z-E-S to Nîmes, N-I-M-E-S. If you remember, about 10 years ago, there was a Volkswagen ad on TV right at this bridge.
No way.
But this is probably about the most famous aqueduct bridge in the world, other than maybe the one in Segovia, Spain. I personally think this one's better. I walked across it. I walked right through you can walk right through the top there where the water is calcified, and I don't know if I have a picture of that or not, but continue. No, this is where it comes into Nîmes, and this is where it dispenses the water.
Scene from a movie.
Yeah, this is where it dispenses the water. There's like 12 pipes. This is the terminus of that aqueduct. It traveled 40 miles, and it dispensed into this chamber here, which was covered at one point. Wow. And then 12 pipes came out made of lead and brought it to the city.
That's amazing.
This is our later aqueducts in America. This is the Croton, which brought water to New York City. New York City was epidemic after epidemic: smallpox, diphtheria, yellow fever, dysentery, cholera, you name it. There was no water until 1842. They had constantly bad quality water. So they finally built an aqueduct in 1842. This is the enlarged version from 1910 or 15. So this goes from Croton-on-Hudson, which is maybe 40 miles above New York City, roughly parallels the Hudson River. And isn't that beautiful? It's a beautiful dam. I love it. They somehow incorporated the natural waterfall with the artificial structure they built.
Yeah.
And this raises Croton Lake, which flooded out the old Croton Dam of roughly 70 years earlier. So the original aqueduct's 1842. This is 1910 or 15. So New Croton Lake flooded Old Croton Lake, just like our Union Lake. When they built that in 1865, that flooded out Union Pond of 1790, which is still underwater.
Wow.
And was exposed about 30 years ago when they built a new dam. This is the aqueduct path on top. The water's underneath your feet. You never can see the water, it's underneath.
Wow.
But it's a great hiking path. Those are ventilator pipes, which lets air in and out of the system to help the water flow, because it's flowing on a very gentle gradient or slope. If it flows too steeply, you lose the height. It needs to be at a certain height to reach buildings. This is a culvert under the aqueduct, so that brought streams under the aqueduct. The aqueduct pipe is in the ground on top of the picture, and that's inside one of those culverts. They're very clean in there, amazingly enough. No graffiti, no dirt, nothing. Continue. This is a crossing in Ossining, if you've ever heard of Sing Sing State Prison, which is very famous.
Yeah.
This is right near Sing Sing. This is the crossing of the aqueduct, which is the higher crossing, over a road bridge, which is the middle crossing, over the bottom, which is a little stream that flows through there. And getting down there, let me tell you, that was difficult. Now it's easy. I literally had to slide down on my rear end.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Now they've built a sewer pipe with a pathway you can walk on top of it.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years or 10 years or so, but that shot I think is from 20 years ago. Wow. This is inside the aqueduct. Some of it was all brick. Some of it was tunneled through rock, like this is tunneled through rock. And it's, some places you see nothing but rock, some places you see nothing but brick. This is a guillotine gate to shut the place down for maintenance. So the water's flowing through that tunnel. This is the old aqueduct, so this was abandoned in 1950, either 55 or 59. And it was supplanted by the New Croton Aqueduct, which is not far away. But you can enter here. This is, you ever hear of the Washington Irving Legend of Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah.
This is Sleepy Hollow.
Wow.
This is behind Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which has the second oldest Dutch church in New York. I'm sorry, the oldest Dutch church in New York.
Wow.
Kingston, New York is the second oldest. This is the oldest. This is as the aqueduct reaches New York City. Go back a couple pictures or so. You skipped something. Okay. This is behind the cemetery. Continue.
Okay.
This is when the aqueduct reaches New York City, you have a Roman-inspired aqueduct. 1842. It's not Roman, but
Wow.
the metal on the left of the bridge is where they blasted out some of those arches in the early 1900s, and they built that steel bridge so boats could get through.
Jeez.
But originally the stone went all the way across. There's a giant ventilator. You see that tower that was in the previous picture? That's a giant ventilator pipe about 200 feet high. And you can now walk across the river here. You couldn't until about 10 years ago. They opened it up to pedestrians. Oh, there it is.
Wow. That's so cool.
Some idiot decided to burn the top of it off, so they had to rebuild the top.
Wow. We're gonna take a pause for a second, Brian. We are going to go to a commercial break, folks. I hope you're enjoying some of this history, and this is fascinating. This is fascinating, and never in a million years, when I'm sitting in your dental chair, did I ever imagine seeing all this stuff. This is so cool. I love it.
This is what built. This is built
I
This
love
is what
it.
built your town,
I
your
love it.
world.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
everybody takes everything for granted nowadays.
They do. And just, looking at this is just, it's fascinating. It really is. To see the history and stuff, Brian. I'm so glad you were here and able to share this. Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to look at a few more photos from Brian and his photography work. But please, if you're watching on Comcast Channel 22, Facebook Live, or YouTube Live, we will be back in just a couple minutes right here on Around South Jersey.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Many people treat their health like a game. With the Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Our mental health services focus on the emotions and behaviors that affect your overall well-being and features psychiatric, counseling, and addiction services, including our exclusive Fresh Start program, designed to help combat the opioid epidemic in our communities, plus all the other specialties you expect from Complete Care. Level up your health with us. The Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great healthcare for everyone.
It's New Life's 40th anniversary celebration. Join Pastor Helen and our guest speaker, Apostle Michael Pangio. It happens on March 22nd at 11 a.m.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Around South Jersey with Jim Quinn. I am your guest host, Derick Glenn, filling in for Jim this week. He'll be back next week, we hope. My guest in the studio this week, Brian Kutner. I just want to say a special message right here. My son is the owner of DuraShield LLC, where durability meets design. Residential and commercial flooring, epoxy, polyaspartic, polished concrete. You can reach them at durashieldcoatings.com or 609-666-9198 if you're looking for residential or commercial work. He is the man to call for anything and everything. Brian, I'll tell you what, it went by so quick. It's already 6 o'clock. It's already 6 o'clock.
Does.
We folks are definitely going to have Brian back for a part 2, and you'll be able to see, I think, in the next, some of the other stuff is some of your locomotives, some of the other stuff. But so fascinating how much stuff you were able to capture, and just seeing some of those photos, just amazing. And like this is something I think would be so cool for the youth out there to be able to see, like, the history. It's amazing for me, but the youth to be able to see this is where things started. It wasn't all electric. It wasn't all DoorDash. It wasn't all.
Sadly, most kids don't care.
Yeah, they need to.
They do. They really
need to be put in front of a monitor or a television, and this is what you're going to do. Brian, I want to thank you for being our special guest today. Thank you so much for being here. And folks, again, if you'd like to see more of Brian's work, reach out to him. He's on social media. He's on Facebook. You can visit his Facebook page.
Just on Facebook.
Just on
no
Facebook.
Other
You can visit his Facebook page. You can see a lot of his work. He does offer his services for special things. You can always go to his Facebook page and send him a message and see if it's something that he would be interested in entertaining. But again, I'm your guest host, filling in for Jim Quinn around. He doesn't do weddings. Around South Jersey. Want to thank our engineer Ryan in the back for making us look so good here. Just kidding. Folks, we will be here tomorrow. Tomorrow, I have special guests from the Equestrian Center in Bridgeton. John and his daughter are going to be here talking about their community center and stuff. Thursday, we've got a very special guest. It's a restaurant, new restaurant in Vineland. It's called The Bite.
I've been there
and
5 times already.
Well, I'm going to tell you, they're going to be here and they're going to have some of their food. They're going to have some samples for Ryan and I, and they're going to be on here live talking about some of the stuff that they do.
Their food is fantastic.
Well, there you go. First testimonial, folks. Listen, please continue to follow Quinn Broadcasting on Comcast Channel 2, on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere you can find it. Quinn Broadcasting. I'm Derick Glenn. I want to say thank you again to all of our advertisers and everybody for watching tonight's program. Don't forget, tune in tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, same time, same channel. Until then, have a great night. God bless.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.